Please drink responsibly.
2 touchdowns in 20 seconds? Saquon calling game. And that's how the best week of the NFL season starts. And we'll go straight ahead to Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, Pittsburgh. What a week. And Mike Tyson, Jake Paul tonight. All the buildup. But when I say anything is possible,
no, we're nothing.
Anything is possible.
Dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Bum, bum, bum.
You guys all talk to
We will get to that. Eagles 26, command.
A wild turn of events for anyone who watched this defense completely melt down at the end of last season. But over the last 6 weeks, Tony, they are allowing the fewest yards per play of any defense in football. They are first in EPA per play. They are first in success rate. And you saw the reasons why last night. It's really led by the youth movement. Up front, Jalen Carter, the first-round draft pick last year, was detonating the line of scrimmage, just blowing up plays. He's living in that backfield. And then on the back end, Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, their young corners who they drafted this year, are playing out of their minds. Mitchell was only targeted once. He didn't allow a single catch. He was lined up against Terry McLaurin, who was a ghost for most of the game. He's got a legitimate case for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So to go back to your question, I have a lot of confidence in this team because they are unbelievably balanced right now.
Tim Kalishaw, around the horn to you. Statement made from Philly.
Yeah, this is a team that took its problems seriously at the end of last year. Changed both coordinators, targeted Quinion Mitchell in the draft, kind of had Cooper DeJean fall to them in the draft. Both those rookies start. Both of them are instrumental. You know, a week ago when they beat Dallas 34-6, we kind of focused on Dallas, and there's plenty of problems there. But seeing CeeDee Lamb go 6 for 21 in that game makes a little more sense when you see Terry McLaurin completely shut out. One catch finally in the fourth quarter. They can shut down really good wide receivers, and that changes everything, as Mina said, for a defense that really struggled in the secondary the last 2 or 3
Emily Kaplan, around the horn to you on the statement you saw from Philadelphia.
Not all of us were focused on Dallas, Tim. I would say this, though. In that 5-game winning streak prior to this, none of those teams, including the Dallas Cowboys, had a winning record. So this game meant something. The biggest play in this game to me was when Grant Calcaterra came out of seemingly nowhere and hustled to recover that fumble when the score was 12-10 to keep the drive alive. That was swag. And all of a sudden now with the Eagles, we're talking about exactly they're a well-coached team. Like, they're 3-1 when trailing after halftime. In the first half of games, they rank 20th in the NFL in scoring. In the second half of games, they are second in the NFL in scoring. And those type of adjustments, I think, are going to bode really well for them.
So you're seeing a team that makes adjustments, because it became very en vogue to blame the coaching of this team and Nick Sirianni at the way the end of last season ended up, or the way they weren't scoring in the first quarter of games. Mina, I want to get your take on that in a second. David Dennis Jr., around the horn to you on the statement you saw from Philadelphia last night.
Yeah, I think what you're mentioning here is why I think people are a little bit reluctant to kind of believe in this team, because we've never quite seen a team have that sort of implosion at the end of a season, keep their coach, and then sort of have a weird beginning of the season. They blew that lead against the Falcons down the stretch, and so we felt like there was this hangover that was going to carry on through the season. But what we're actually seeing is a team that has leaned into its strengths, which is that defense, which basically shut down the third best offense in the league and held Jaden Daniels to basically a little bit more than 200 yards total, and he's obviously been one of the more explosive quarterbacks in the league. Their secondary has been great, as everybody's mentioned, but on the other side, their bread and butter is that offensive line, that dominant offensive line. Look at the holes that Saquon Barkley is running through that entire part of that game, and then when you have that, Jalen Hurts is allowed to do the play action, which he was 80% completion rate in that play action. So things are gelling for this Eagles team in the way that they did a couple years ago, and I think we're just the hangover from the bad end of last season is why we're kind of slow to come around.
Maybe. Mina, I'll bring you back in on there. The roller coaster and the long stretches where it's blame the coaching, praise the coaching, blame the coaching, praise the coaching.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why they're better in the second half is that run game. David talked about the dominant offensive line and then Saquon creating. it improves as the game goes on. It wears on defenses. So if I was to praise the coaching or offensive coaching, I would say the fact that they're sticking with the run as the game goes on is smart, because that is the identity of this offense.
You can only beat the teams you play. It was 5 straight wins against teams with losing records. Yesterday, their first.
No, I'm seeing Jaden Daniels go against these really good teams and really good defenses. I mean, you see them go. He lost to the Steelers. They still put 27 points up, and then 4 days later, they lose to the Eagles. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we've seen how great he's been so far this season, expect him to conquer everybody. But the guy's still a rookie. And they've lost to the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Steelers, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mina Kimes?
Yeah, I agree. Some of it has to do with the defenses. I think also we're seeing this Commanders offense has some limitations. Outside of McLaurin, it's not the best skill group. The offense does have strong college components that the better defenses can play. The other thing I'll say is Jaden Daniels hasn't quite looked like himself since the rib injury. He's missing throws that he made beforehand. So I think health is also a factor.
Tim Calishaw.
I think a little extra time off, the 10 days before the next game, will help him. So will playing the Cowboys, Titans, and Saints the next 3 games before they play the Eagles again. So and they'll have the Cowboys again after that. Their path to 10 or 11 wins is pretty much set for them.
Are we contractually obligated, Tim, to have the Cowboys in every one of your answers now? Is this where we are?
I'm trying. I think I got a shot at it.
Well, it won't be in this next topic. Sunday, best week of the season so far. KC at Buffalo, and then there's another game also. Ravens at Steelers. We're going to start with KC Buffalo here, though. 9-0, 2-time defending champs, putting the inventing ways to win undefeated streak on the line versus their old foe, the co-participant of the greatest game of recent history, the very motivated Buffalo Bills. So 9-0 versus 8-2. There's history there. Josh Allen says it doesn't matter. Look at this. It doesn't matter. Tim, what will matter most deciding this game?
You know, the Chiefs have done a pretty great job of making people forget they began as the Dallas Texans. I just want to point that out. But I think the biggest thing for this particular game, Tony, is Josh Allen has been great against the blitz. Do you think that means Steve Spagnuolo is going to stop blitzing? He's not going to bring pressure? I don't think that's going to happen. So can Josh Allen keep it up? He won't have Dalton Kincaid. We've been very surprised at the wide receivers that he has, that he's been able to get this job done, but 8-2 says they have. And this is huge for Buffalo. It's like picking up a game and a half on the Chiefs for the playoffs if they can win this game. They're back in the mix for actually playing Kansas City and Buffalo in January, which I think would make all the difference.
So you would slightly disagree, or at least allow Josh Allen to hear this does matter. It's not a playoff game, but this does matter.
Yes, of course it matters. He's nuts.
Mina Kimes, what will matter most come Sunday?
Well, first I'll say what matters here is if the Chiefs win this, the 1 seed is basically over. They're going to run away with it, right? So, whereas if the Bills win it, they have a chance at actually getting it. So it matters in that regard. I would say it also matters for Josh Allen individually. Look, like it or not, we think of these great quarterbacks, going head to head as very significant to how we view them and their legacies. Even if it's unfair, we all know the 13-second game had nothing to do with Josh Allen. So there's an opportunity here for him to assert himself and also, enter that, if he's not already there, the MVP conversation, which is, of course, led by Lamar Jackson, because he's going into this game outmanned against this Kansas City defense. Down Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid. He's going to have to put this offense on his back. Wouldn't be surprised if we see quite a few Josh Allen carries as a result.
David Dennis Jr., what matters most come Sunday?
What matters most is Josh Allen's performance, is then him having to do what he's been doing all season, which is be the best player on the field for the Bills to win. Even more this season, what we've seen, or even more this Sunday, what we've seen so far with him against the blitz, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against a Chiefs team that blitzed on 36% of the defensive plays. So they are going to face him, a guy at his strength. He is going to have to be better than Mahomes for them to win. He's going to have to carry this team. Now, will this matter the same in the come playoff time? They can win, still lose in the playoffs. I don't care where you're playing, because I don't want to go full Mike Tyson, but Mahomes is pretty much inevitable, and he will grind you to dust when it matters. But I do think that Josh Allen needs to win this game.
Emily Kaplan.
I don't know, guys. Don't you guys feel like sometimes with the Chiefs this year, nothing really matters? Like, they can get in any situation. Like, they've been trailing at 8 and 9 games this year, and they just find ways to win, which is super annoying for the rest of the NFL, but it's why they're 9-0. And speaking of that, of all of the NFL teams that have been 9-0 in history, they have the lowest scoring margin.
Yeah.
In a year where, like, Patrick Mahomes doesn't quite look like himself and Travis Kelce doesn't quite look like himself, I think that my other panelists were right to point out that the defense has been so key for the Chiefs. And Steve Spagnuolo, what he's doing, they're so good against the run, and the fact that the Bills don't have so many offensive weapons and it's all going to have to be on Josh Allen's back, maybe that's why he's trying to minimize the stakes here, but I think that the defense is going to come through, and what really does matter, though, is the postseason.
One thing we do know, this game, Buffalo may have a lead at some point in this game because the Kansas City team has been trailing in 9 or 8 of the 9 wins they have this year. Mina, make a pick. Who you got?
I'm going with Buffalo. I know it's dangerous picking against Kansas City, but the Bills' defense, which we didn't talk about there, is playing really good football right now.
Tim Kalishow, who you got?
I'm stopped picking against the Chiefs. Give me Kansas City.
Emily Kaplan?
I've got the Chiefs.
David Dennis Jr.
I'm going with the Chiefs, and I'll go with the Chiefs until they actually lose a game.
All right, still next.
Nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
14-year-old reporter Jazzy Guerra getting all the points. We love you, Jazzy. That was outstanding. And that was Mike Tyson doing an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So, the months and months of build-up and wondering if any of this is on the up and up. Tonight, we will see a 58-year-old all-time great, baddest man on the planet from 40 years ago, 20 years removed from any real fights, and those weren't pretty, versus a 27-year-old YouTube behemoth, glad to be a cultural villain, and now with 6 years of boxing, and say what you want, at this point, you have to acknowledge real commitment to boxing from Paul. I've been running polls for months. It's 80 Tyson, 20 Paul, but I ask you, David, what wins out here, and are you taking this seriously?
No, I don't think anybody's taking this seriously from the perspective we're going to watch a real sort of catch-as-catch-can boxing match. This is not going to be a Mayweather fight. This is a spectacle. This is a spectacle at the end of a career of Mike Tyson that is full of spectacles. A guy who was as famous as anybody in the 80s. There was Jackson, Jordan, and Tyson in terms of the mics, and now we have the culmination of a career that is as mercurial, as controversial as we've seen, and this is curtain call. This is the last big moment. 80,000 people are coming to see him fight, regardless of how legitimate we think this is as a boxing match.
But do you believe Tyson's taking it for real? That's a follow-up question I ask you, David.
Yeah, I think Tyson is taking this for real as a real fight. I think he wants to win. I think nobody wants to end their career on their back. But I think, when we watch this, we're going to look at this as the circus kind of that it is.
But are you avoiding the other question I asked? Who you got?
I got the guy who's 31 years younger. I got Paul winning this one.
Okay. Wait, you almost didn't say his name. You're trying. So admit it. You have Jake Paul beating Mike Tyson tonight. Emily Kaplan, around the horn to you.
This sport is just not my personal cup of tea, and it's not that I'm against fighting. I just think that there's a time and a place for it, and for me, that's in a hockey rink. If you want to see some real fights and stakes, you should have checked out the Devils-Panthers series this week. Those meant something.
Okay.
But like a 58-year-old versus a YouTuber, that just does nothing for me. And I think that if you see how unhinged Mike Tyson has been in the lead-up to this fight, then I do think that he's taking this seriously. It matters to him. As for Jake Paul, I don't know what his intentions are other than clout.
But there will be a winner tonight, right? In your mind? Or maybe you don't think there'll be a winner. Maybe you think you'll be...
the winner will be me because I've got a
All right, but you're refusing to pick it as well. Let's go. Tim Kalishow, please.
31 years is a significant age difference. It's something I wrestle with on this show from time to time. I think that's a little different from doing it in a boxing ring with 14-ounce gloves. I just don't think, even with shorter rounds, Tyson's going to be able to hold up. So whoever Jake Paul is, I think.
So you've got Jake Paul as well. Mina Kimes, around the horn to you.
Yeah, the difference, Tim, between you and Tyson is you've won recently, consistently. The last time Mike Tyson had a sanctioned fight, Mariah Carey had the #1 song in America. Our researchers sent us all these great stats on him, and I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking, none of this matters. It's all so out of date. I think Jake Paul wins, and as is the case with so many of his fights, I don't think it means very much.
But how about that? We have a clean sweep on this panel. No one's taken the more seasoned actual boxer of the group, some might say.
Could be a mistake. Could be a mistake.
Buy or sell to Ravens Steelers, 7-3 versus 7-2. Lamar Jackson is just 1-3 in his career versus Pittsburgh. It's a shockingly low number of games and some of his worst career numbers. Can Russell Wilson keep it going? Harbaugh versus Tomlin, another chapter in that great rivalry. Mina Kimes, which team or player or coach has most approved Sunday?
I would say the Ravens, for the reason you talked about with Lamar, his head-to-head record against Steelers. I know this means something to him, but also this Ravens team has to prove that the defense will not let them down in the playoffs. And there's an opportunity here because as bad as they've been, they've actually been excellent against the run. And I don't think they're going to play the sort of single high coverage that Russell Wilson has been feasting on during his winning streak.
Tim Kalishaw.
I think it's Russell Wilson. I know they've won games since he got in there. Now they're playing a good team, but it's a team that you can still obviously beat that secondary. This should be a big day for him and for George Pickens, and they need to go out and prove that.
Emily Kaplan.
I'm going to go with Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken because he said we gave the game away to them last year. Remember, they had 3 turnovers, 2 drop passes in the end zone. So that just put the pressure on them to look as efficient as they have this year, which is super efficient. 33 of 43 trips to the red zones have been touchdowns.
That's right. Wow. David Dennis Jr.
I'm going to agree with the panel's Mike Tyson and say that it's Russell Wilson here who has the most to prove. I think what we're going to find out is just the ceiling that this offense has with Wilson there. He's had the benefit of a defense that only allows 16 points per game, but since he's been playing, they've been the top 10 in yards and points. And I think we're going to have to lean. They're going to have to lean on Russell Wilson's arm because I don't think that defense is going to be able to, contain Lamar Jackson the way they've been able to contain other teams.
Did I detect a pick in there? I don't think so. David Dennis Jr., who you got?
I'm going with the Ravens.
Emily Kaplan.
I also like the Ravens.
Tim Kalishaw.
As David Dennis would say, I'm going with the team that doesn't have Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. It's the other team, that guy. I'm going to go with them.
Mina Kimes.
I'm going with the team that has the best player in football, and that's the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson.
I'm getting the latest update on my poll that I ran today, just to make sure, because you guys were unanimous. Jake Paul over Mike Tyson. It's 80% Tyson in the poll and 20% Paul. Wow. Everybody, you guys, put yourself out there. Let's see. Thank you for your time, Tim Kalishaw, David Dennis Jr., Mina Kimes, Emily Kaplan. Showdown next.
Is 2.
Now he's going to run, and the beast has once again been released.
This season, though, there's a zen-like calm to Allen. When success starts and ends with you, there's peace in knowing that no other option exists. Josh Allen just has to go and take it. But that's far easier said than done, though. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are linked forever. Their battles are classics that literally changed how the game is played.
Every single game, it seems like it comes down to the very end.
Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. The Bills get the lead back again. Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce on a push fade comeback, and the Chiefs have won.
All Josh Allen wants to be is on the right side of history when it matters most. A win Sunday doesn't completely change that narrative. But here's the thing about history. You only get so many chances to write how you want to be remembered before history does it for you.
RC, we showed you some of the injuries offensively that the Bills are dealing with.
Yeah.
What should their plan be against a really tough Kansas City defense?
Okay, this is kind of like Samuel L. Waxon, but we got to let James cook.
3 times.
Like, this is the only way for this team to have an opportunity. Go back to last year's regular season game and watch the way that they use James Cook in the passing game, not only underneath with option routes and one-on-one matchups, but stretching the football field. You can use him in some of those matchups in between the numbers. And also the run game for Joe Brady has to be huge, something that's been focused on a lot more since Joe Brady took over midway through last season. And I think if you could do some of those things to alleviate the pressure on Josh and allow him to only have to be special at times with so many of his skill players down, I believe you shorten the game and you put the ball in one of your more dynamic playmakers' hands as much as possible.
I think the thought is treat James Cook like the Eagles treat Saquon Barkley. I mean, realistically, they try to get Saquon 25 touches a game. I would try to get James Cook 25 touches in this game. Now, I think the 2 runs that they lean into most is the duo concept, and I like that versus the Chiefs. Double teams, and it's James, just read the interior block. If you want to bounce it outside, bounce it. But if we get push, They're just trying to get 5, 6, 7 yards. That's run number 1. Run number 2 is when they pull their tackles. Both are capable of doing it. I like when Dion does it just a little bit more. Dion Dawkins, their left tackle, and they get downhill, and he's got really good vision. It's like last night as well. I was watching that game, and I was like, Kellen needs to just continue to call the run because Saquon will eventually pop one. I feel Joe Brady, this game will lend itself to just stay disciplined, stay committed to calling runs, because I think eventually James Cook has the ability to break a long one and then eventually break open the game for Buffalo's offense.
Yeah, I agree, and I think also if there's an emphasis on the ground game and a dedication to it, even if it doesn't go great at first, because this Chiefs run defense is really good, it will help them exploit the linebackers in coverage because they're going to get nosy and they're going to be focused on getting downhill against this run game that goes north-south that way. And that's where this Chiefs defense is probably most vulnerable. I would say the linebackers and the safeties are who you want to attack in coverage. And I think if they do run the ball and run the ball consistently, that'll even help that cause. I'd like to see the play-action pass flowing off of that. The other thing is, yesterday I talked about how the Chiefs defense is vulnerable to tight ends. Unfortunately, Dalton Kincaid is not playing in that game. But did you guys hear that? It's Dawson Knox. Sorry, you did your joke and you did your joke. He has to have.
Yours was the best one.
Thank you.
She's called Impact.
Dawson Knox has to have a better game than he has all season for the Bills to win this one. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
On that note, I did allude to this, that we are evenly split on our picks. So Mina and I on the Bills are seeing Dan on the
fun.
Chiefs. Dan, you first. Why are you taking the Chiefs?
I think the injuries to Buffalo and not knowing what Amari Cooper you're going to get, no Keon Coleman, no Kincaid, that's big.
All right, I think we're maybe out of time, so I'm just going to say that we're all split here. I love that for us. Enjoy the rest of this slate this weekend. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We will be with you Monday.